Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much for meeting with us today. We'll just give a brief introduction of ourselves. So my name
Okay.
is Omar. My name is Omar Shahid. So I'm the president of Advocate Health. So I'm in my third year of undergrad in the life sciences at McMaster. So that's in Hamilton, Ontario. And Zain, you can introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, my name is Zain Siddiqui. I'm with Omar at McMaster in my third year of life sci. I am the events head of events in Advocate Health currently, and I also have one or two people working with me too that helped organize this. But most credit goes to Omar, and we're happy to have you here and for you to do this interview.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Sounds good. I'm very familiar with McMaster. Actually, I have family that was one of our. I'm asking my wife now. Was one of our family member a professor over there, or what was it? McMaster in Hamilton. No. Donald's father worked there, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Donald's father, but he was a professor of
He was.
philosophy and religion.
He was a professor of philosophy and religion
Oh.
over at McMaster. He is not with us anymore. He passed away a few years ago. So yeah, I'm familiar. I've been down there actually myself. I lived in Canada for a long time, so I'm familiar with all these kind of things. So what's your end goal with your studies? Are you going to become doctors or something like that? Or?
That's
Yeah. Hopefully,
fun
we
question.
are both in the life sciences, so that is the path we're trying to take. Yeah, we look forward to applying to med school at the end of this year. So
At
fingers
least Omar
crossed.
does. I might go into law
Yeah.
or health law maybe in the
Zane's
future.
thinking of health law actually. So
But
yeah.
we'll see
Oh,
how that
okay.
goes.
Okay. And what are you trying to do with this kind of, I don't know, web service, or what is it you call it?
So our club, yeah. So
Yeah.
for Advocate Health, basically a bit of overview for it. So we basically advocate for rare diseases. So like
Okay.
people who like been diagnosed with rare diseases and like the communities they're in, and we want to like spread awareness on like the treatment, the conditions, and some of the social factors that are affected by that. So
Okay. All right.
yeah, so before we dig into GBS, the syndrome, let's just talk a bit about yourself. So you can tell us a bit about yourself, your interests, hobbies, things like that. I read your blog actually; it was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I realized it was very well written for English people when I looked at it. So I actually went and adjusted it. I'm born in Sweden actually, so but I lived around the world a little bit. I lived in Dubai, so I've been in Middle East
Oh,
for
nice.
many years before. And from Middle East, I immigrated, if we use that term, to Canada, right? And I'm a Canadian citizen, as well as I'm still keeping my Swedish citizenship. So, and in the last 2011, I moved to Amsterdam. I joined Greenpeace. So I work for Greenpeace, right? So I'm fighting climate change. So
Nice.
right. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about myself. So
No, that's really, really cool. Yeah, you've been to many places. I see. Yeah, Dubai,
yeah,
Canada, Sweden, Amsterdam. Damn. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
we are all the same wherever we are, right? You know, we
Yeah.
have the same needs, and you know, it's just that in some places the resources is not the same as what we have in
Yeah.
Canada and in Europe and so on, right? So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely. Yeah. So coming back to, I believe, GBS itself. So I read your blog and you mentioned that you started having symptoms for GBS sometime before Christmas 2001. So I read the entire blog and I saw like the journey you went through and like the 6 months of like treatment and moving around to different hospitals. It was very, very
Yeah.
hectic. Yeah, definitely. So I'm just wondering, what are some of like the main challenges that you faced in those like 6 to 8 months of when you were moving around and all that? Maybe something that may have not been mentioned in the blog itself.
I think I was very lucky. Actually, I didn't have many challenges as such. My symptoms really came along when I was in the conference down in New Orleans. It was kind of a flu symptoms, and it was quite severe at the time. And I called in a doctor, kind of a hotel doctor or whatever you call it, right? And to me, I don't know if I was delirious or something like that, but are you familiar with Colin Sanders? You know, that Kentucky Fried Chicken figure?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This doctor that came and treated me in the hotel room, he looked like him and had a hat like him. So I don't know if that actually caused my progression of the Guillain-Barré sort of, I don't know. But he gave me a shot. And normally I didn't take any shots, right? But I was quite off at the time. So I'm not sure what it was. He told me what it was. He said, I'm going to get you on the feet and I'm going to get you so you can visit the conference tomorrow. He basically told me, right? So I don't know if that triggered anything or it was onset already, right? So that is very difficult to know, actually. I flew back to Toronto, and then I was in Toronto and started feeling the symptoms. You know, one of the first symptoms is basically numbness of your hands and feet.
Yep.
I was then, after that, off to Sweden because my grandfather was turning 90 years old at that time. So I was there to visit his birthday. And I started feeling some confusion when I was transferring in Frankfurt Airport. In the sense, I started feeling like I wasn't sure where I was, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it was the drinks I had on the flight, right? But I hadn't had many, maybe two. And you know, some wine or something, but I started feeling that. And then I went over, came to Sweden. I stayed with my father's father. And then I went and stayed with my sister for a while. But it came on very rapidly after that, right? I got food poisoning. And after that was just downhill after that.
Collapsed in the street.
Huh?
You collapsed on the street.
I thought I had some back pain, and I told my sister, "Can you take me to a chiropractor, you know, to adjust my back?" And I went there, and he said, "You don't. There's something else going on with you." So he didn't even treat me. And I started getting weaker and weaker and could not walk much on my own. So I asked my sister to take me to a doctor. So I went to a doctor, and when that doctor said squat, you know, I just fell on the floor. I had no power in my body. And basically that doctor said, go to the emergency room, right? And that's what my sister took me there, right? So, and I got very well treated there in a Swedish hospital. I'm lucky that I was I still had my Swedish citizenship because that was not very, for me, it was not expensive then. I was treated as a Swedish person. So the cost of staying in the hospital was very low. And yeah, what more can I say?
Don't you remember the specialist there?
Yeah, I will get to. My wife is talking in the background, right? She listening. You know, my wife is Indian, so she just, you know, talks a lot. Anyway, I got to the hospital. They took they tested me, and they took a lumbar test, I think it's called.
Lumbar test, yeah.
Yeah, and they came back very quickly and said what was wrong with me, and that I had to spend time there. And the interesting part of this, there was another doctor I met there after the test that he was of Iranian background, but he actually had gone to an international school in India, where my wife and her sister had gone to also.
No.
So they were familiar to each other, right? And he
Wow.
was actually studying, he was actually working towards his PhD, I think, and specializing in just this Guillain-Barré as one of his main thesis, right? So,
Wow. Small world.
it was very small world when you realize that, actually. So yeah, so after that I just if you're familiar with this kind of Guillain-Barré, or you read on it, there is no medicine really that can treat you at the moment anyway. I don't know if they have done improvements since then, but at the time I had it, it was just waiting it out, actually, to see how bad it became before it became better, right? And so to my benefit, I was only on a lung machine and heart machine for 1 day, actually. So for me, I think I got a mild version of it, actually, personally. There are other people that is much, much, much worse, right? And eventually they had to release me from the hospital. Normally they release people in Sweden anyway, into another type of care in a facility where they actually build back your stamina and all that kind of thing. But my insurance company in Canada flew me back to Canada, and I would say I wasn't that happy when I came to Canada, because they met me up at the airport, right, with an ambulance and everything, and they shuffled me into an ambulance and they drove me to the emergency room at in Mississauga. I can't remember the name of the hospital now, and they just looked at me and said, "Oh, we can't do anything. Go home." So I went home, and yeah, and it improved over time from there, right? So.
Was it Credit Valley Hospital by any chance?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
okay.
Credit Valley Hospital.
Yeah,
We live
right
in
now.
Mississauga. It's literally 10 minutes down. So
interesting.
Yeah, I lived in Mississauga at the time, right? So,
cool.
So that was my hospital as well, right? So.
Cool. I mean, thank you. Oh, sorry.
The insurance company handled that whole process, right? So I got it like overseas, kind of the worst of it. So I stayed in a hospital in Sweden at the time, right? So I was not really in Canada, but I was a resident of Canada at the time, right? So, and insurance company took care of all this, bringing me back and all that. But I was, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking about, the doctors at the time. I think the worst of my Guillain-Barré was already past, right? So I was on the amend, sort of. But I didn't get a good feeling. But that could be completely because of the situation that I was in different countries when it happened, and my biggest part of being in hospital was in Sweden, right? So.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The feeling, like, it would feel different because of the different hospital systems. Yeah. I've read some other, like, experiences of people who had GBS as well, and some of them were diagnosed like internationally. They had to like move to different hospitals because some doctors didn't know like what GBS was there, and other places had like the facilities and stuff. So then, like, for the patient or for the person themselves, they're like, they're already, like, some of them had like really severe symptoms, and like they were already confused. Confusion is actually one of like the things that they face in between. So yeah, it definitely sounds like hard to take in.
Yeah. So what I'm gathering, your worst, like when it affected you the most, would be your time when you were in Sweden.
Yes.
So then, like during this time, how would you say this, like maybe just having GPS in general has affected your mental health or your ability to socialize and interact?
Yeah, if you're thinking about socializing, it's not much you can do if you can't walk, right? Uh, so my socializing was in with the nurses,
Hmm.
and with the patient in my room. But the patient in my room, they were not Guillain-Barré. One had a brain tumor, and he didn't know how bad that was. And he
Hmm.
was, crying at nights because he thought it was a young fellow, right? So he was really concerned. Then there was another guy who had what I can't remember what he had. Epilepsy, what do you call it? Epilepsy? Or,
Epilepsy?
yeah, I think he had
Hmm.
that. I woke up in the night one time. He stood next to me, my bed, and peeing on the floor, right? So, uh,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
couldn't defend myself because I was paralyzed.
Hmm.
That was a scary moment, type of. But luckily, he was just confused and thought it was the toilet was over at my end of the room. So.
Mhm.
But these kind of things, right? They moved him actually after that that night into his to another space which he would be alone in, I think. But there were 4 people in the room, right? So everyone had different things, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
my mental health was. I'm a very positive person that when it comes to these things. Uh, that didn't affect me at the moment anyway. That kind of slight depression came after I recovered more a little bit, that I was a little bit, I kind of, what do you call that expression? Ditch the bullet kind of thing.
Oh,
Hmm.
boy.
Hmm. Right.
Uh, and was a little bit down, but that was way after, not during the time, right?
Mm.
They
Oh.
didn't give me much specific. Even the nurses and doctors said that I was very assertive during this time, and I was not down to it. And actually, I proposed actually to take me down to the swimming pool,
Hmm.
and that actually fast tracked my recovery a little bit. Uh, the first time I went in the water, I was a little scared. I thought I was going to drown if I couldn't move, right? But my movement came back. Actually, it came quite fast. I mean, not full, but the movement of swimming a little bit came back. Your body is lighter in water, right? So it's a
Right. Yeah.
very good treatment for people with paralysis or uh, this kind of Guillain-Barré paralysis that eventually will give away, right? It's
Hmm.
you're not paralyzed for most of your life, but uh, there are some people that may get a little severe version of Guillain-Barré in the sense that they may have to sit in a wheelchair over the rest of their life, right? But most people will recover. Uh, they may have symptoms. I still have symptoms. And this is 20 years later, right? So
Hmm.
I still have numbness in my feet. I still feel some tingling in my hands sometimes. So it doesn't go away completely, right? So it's
Hmm.
there.
So that's pretty
That,
interesting to me that you feel that your mental health was worse at its worst after the paralysis. So then during this time, what did you like? How was it gradual when you started socializing again, maybe going out, talking to people with your friends, or did it like was it an immediate thing? Why did you feel more
Nah, it
depressed?
was, I may be a little different than other people from that perspective. I'm very clear and concise. In crisis, I'm very good. But when time outside of that, I can get depressed even without being sick or anything.
Oh, that's understandable.
You know, it's a kind of boredom if you think about it,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
understandable.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, seeing that, like, you had like a very optimistic view of when you were being treated and stuff. So, like,
Yeah,
was there like
yeah.
one specific like motivation that kept you going throughout the experience that maybe kept you overall positive, or is it just the mindset?
It's my personal mindset. So,
Personal mindset. Yeah, yeah. That's really good. That's because like I read like a lot of the other accounts too, and like it was really hard for some people who were paralyzed to like, find a way to like be optimistic because like so most of the time they were just staring at a wall or they're just being moved from one room to another. So it's
right,
like it felt super, super hectic for them. And like it can also be really overwhelming too, because most of them are most of some people get diagnosed with GBS, like those people are like completely healthy before that and they'd never experienced the hospital environment, so they're like
right,
super
right.
super confused. Yeah, right. So I'm really happy to hear that, like, your experience was not as bad, or it was pretty good as well. So that's
Yeah,
actually
no,
really amazing.
I got a little adventurous from time to time, right? So
Yeah.
I went down to the hospital. They had a kiosk, like a mini supermarket or whatever you call it, right?
Mhm.
I used to go down there with a walker. But I remember
Mhm.
one time I was down there, I took one wrong step, so I didn't have the parts. I fell on the floor in the supermarket. So people had to come and pick me up, right? But it didn't
Mhm.
stop me to try to go on and go back the next day. Uh, because I was born in Sweden, I still have friends in Sweden, and some of my friends came and kind of kidnapped me one afternoon from the hospital, and they carry me and all those kind of things. They took me to a restaurant. We ate food there, and when I got back to the hospital um, and checked in, I was like hours late. They were concerned. Had been searching for me, and they really gave me a scolding. Where in the hell have you been? Why didn't you tell you were going out and all those kind of things? Uh, because the positive vibe I had was from the staff there. They said, "You're not going to die. You're going to be fine. It's just going to take time," right? So
Mhm.
that probably helped my mental stage a little bit. Right? So,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So you would say the staff is like pretty important then, right?
yeah, I would say
Definitely.
that if you have positive, the doctors tell you up front that this is what you have. It's not life threatening,
Mhm.
but it can get worse, but you are in hospital, you're going to get out of it, right?
Mm.
Eventually.
So prior to being diagnosed, did you like know anything about GBS or even heard of
I
it?
had no idea at all.
Yeah, I think that's most people. So do you think there's like any misconceptions or myths about GBS that people might have or might not understand?
I think a lot of people have misconceptions. I've been told since I was a child that I was a little different. I had a lot of allergies as a child, right? I almost died. My father talked to me about an episode when I had a cold and they gave me a cough medicine, I think, and it had almond extract in it. And apparently, didn't know at the time. I was probably about a year and a half or two that I was allergic to nuts, right? And
Mhm.
I turned blue. And every time my father told me this story, he just cried all the time because he thought I was almost gone. Right? So
Mhm.
I was not allowed to take certain vaccines when I was a child because they could trigger something to people with nut allergies. Right? So I had some awareness from that, but I didn't know that Guillain-Barré was one of the possibility that I could get if I was careless, right? And I wasn't really careless, right? So I always had to be on the alert on this nut allergy throughout my life. I mean, I even had egg allergies when I was a child. I couldn't eat eggs. Right? So I have a immune system that has been a little, I don't know, not like a normal person all my life. Right? So you could say allergies is a kind of a symptoms of some immune issues, right? So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not an expert in this. I just assuming that.
Yeah.
But
You know more than us for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna hear from you. But yeah, so on that, would you give any advice, or do you have any advice for anyone who just recently got diagnosed with GBS? Or
I think they should. It's not like I think in most cases it's not life-threatening, but they're going to go through a rough time, and they will get out of it. And you know, now with the COVID or Corona, there has been a lot of discussions in the GBS community, because I'm on the GBS community on Facebook, right? And it's should we take the vaccine or should we not take the vaccine, right? I have taken the vaccine, and I also taken the booster, so I've taken 3 shots, right? So and I have not got COVID yet, and the discussion has been that and different view of different people, but what I sensed that made my decision to take the vaccine was that people said it's worse to get, people said, and people testify also in this community, was that some people have got GBS after they took the vaccine, but there are more people that got GBS from the corona itself, right? So that it seems to be safer to go the vaccine route and take the chance on that, right? Instead of not vaccinate yourself at all and get into a position that you may end up with GBS again. Because GBS can come back, right? You can get it again. It's not like you have it one time, you finish with it. It's not like that. It can happen again, what I understand, right, from it, right? So it's a tricky question to tell people if they should vaccinate or not, right? And I don't want to be in that position to say, but I can say that in my case, I'm fully vaccinated with a booster and I'm fine.
Did you have a preference for a vaccine like Pfizer or Moderna? Or?
I'm at the age now, right? So I actually had AstraZeneca, the 2 first shots. I can't remember my 3rd shot. You remember what the 3rd shot was?
It was
Pfizer. No, Moderna was the last. So I didn't have a choice on the first 2 shots, right? They gave me AstraZeneca, so, and I don't think it's a problem with that.
That's a consideration.
I think there are other things that plays in, but again, I'm not the doctor. I don't have anything to back up. But I think if you're healthy, you had GBS, you're healthy, you don't have any kind of symptom of any other underlying issues in your body, I think it's actually fine to take the vaccination, actually. You know, but if you don't feel well, you maybe have some other, whatever that is, maybe you should wait till you feel better before you take the vaccination. So but that's my kind of view of it. but I cannot back that up, right?
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. I think a few months ago, a big article came out about like a vaccine hesitancy in the GBS community. I shared it with the club as well. There was like a lot of talk of whether it's safe for the GBS people to like, take it. And like,
Yeah,
so for some doctors, they say that like, it's a personal preference. Like you said, the pros weigh over the cons. Like, more people have gotten it from COVID versus getting the side effects from the vaccine. So the
yeah,
overall consensus was like, you should take it. But it also, like, some doctors say, like, it also depends maybe how long ago you had GBS, and like maybe
yes,
because
yeah,
like it's been so long, the symptoms that are lingering on are like super weak now, so there's
yeah,
probably no effect. Yeah, so it's a like a give and take. Like, there is a risk. There's always a risk. Even just getting like, severe side effects from the vaccine, there's always a risk of that. But
yes.
because of the climate and stuff, it's just safer to take the vaccine. So yeah.
But people with autoimmune problem, they
Hmm.
feel when they are in a good, when the body feels good, and
Yeah, yeah.
they feel when the body is not that good.
Hmm.
So when it's not that good, don't take the vaccine, I would say. And when you feel good, you could take the vaccine, right? Uh, but that's my view of it. But again, it's just how I live my kind of way of thinking, right? And how I decided to take the vaccination and all that. So,
No, that definitely makes sense. Like, your view is totally valid because, like, we don't really know how it feels like, when someone knows
uh,
how their body is feeling, like what state they're in. So like that's like a huge factor that, like, I think a lot of people overshadow that factor. They just say like, you should already make up your mind, but like for them, they know their body the best. So,
yes,
that's their right, and their like that factors into whether they should take it or not. So yeah,
yes.
definitely valid. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, Zane, do you have any final questions or thoughts? We're coming close to our end time. I think we've booked
Yeah,
in like for 30 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, we
Do you
are
have
going
any?
to. No, I mean, thank you for walking us through your journey. I think there was a lot of things that I didn't expect, and a lot of things that like I didn't consider how COVID was affecting the situation and vaccines. So that was actually pretty insane. You mentioned that you still have to take precautions, I think. Uh, could you maybe just quickly gloss over what some of those precautions might be?
Uh, I mean, it's always precaution of different types, right? It depends on your personal thing. Like, I still distance myself from people, but I have a family and they don't distance, they need their social life, right? So with this COVID is that you can live in a bubble, but if you connect with another bubble, that bubble can be infected in different ways, right? So it
Hmm.
may come to you eventually, right? But what I learned from people there are still people actually in my own organization that I work for that has had both vaccines, boosters, healthy people, they still got COVID, right? It's actually more prevalent just now at the moment. More and more people get tested positive for COVID, but very mild so far.
Yeah, very
I
mild.
haven't
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone that had serious thing, but they're all fully vaccinated with booster, right?
Mhm.
So just I think the main thing is to stay positive in your mind, right?
Hmm. Definitely.
Right?
Mhm.
And in crisis, I'm positive, but in normal life, I'm very emotional. So,
Yeah, no,
so it's two different things, right?
yeah, no, I connect to that. I mean, I'm
I, li-
double
I like to
vaccinated.
I like to thrive in difficult times, right?
Yeah,
But when the normal time comes, I'm not very good, and then I start doubt myself and all these kind of things.
mm,
Hmm.
overthinking every
We
little
are
bit.
all different people, right? We have
Yeah.
all different beliefs, how we feel about things and so on. But I think people with autoimmune system are has more tendency of being a little bit negative when things goes against them, right? and people with the allergies as well, right? They can self-doubt themselves, which is not good sometimes. It's hard to have days, and in allergies, it could be anything, right? Some people are spring allergies, some have autumn
Yeah.
allergies,
Hmm.
some have year-round allergies. And allergies in one way is an autoimmune type of issue. So,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's awesome.
it affects people's minds at the time, right? You're not fully 100%, right? Delivering
Hmm.
what you can.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And that goes with GBS. When someone gets GBS, it's just stay positive, have
Stay
good,
positive.
if the doctors, the nurses reinforce that this is not anything life-threatening, serious, and all that kind of things, just they should reinforce that to the patient till they,
Hmm.
they will get through it much better than. But I understand the treatment and the diagnosis and the treatment of this is different in different countries, right? So it's
Right. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely different.
there is a lot of doctors that doesn't even have heard about GBS.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's
They
also
may
one
have
issue.
read about it, but it's not GBS. There is a lot of other odd
Mhm.
diseases that exist in our world, right? So people can get. Right? So.
Yeah, yeah. No, your point is definitely valid there. Yeah, there's a lot of, there's still so many out there that doctors don't know about, and they just encounter it when they just meet it with like a patient. So like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's what it is. It's like there's a lot of diseases out there. So yeah, that's our goal as a club. We just try to like voice out as many as there are, and that's the best we can do. Like to make sure that there's some advocacy on that front. But yeah, other than that, I want to thank you so much for coming out today and taking the time to give us all this information. It was really really awesome hearing your like all the things you had to share with us, like your experiences, and like it really changed like our mindset and outlook on like GBS as well. Seeing that like how much how important it is to have a positive mindset. So that's one thing we're definitely going to showcase.
View that people can understand a story.
Hmm.
It's not about me. It's just about GBS that is not well known yet, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people, it start becoming more common and more common.
But
But anyway, thank you. It
Yeah,
was
thank you so much.
good chatting with you
you.
guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll
We're
keep updated
grateful
with
for you.
what's going on.
Yeah, just keep me updated to what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.